Welcome back, everyone. I want to say thank you for watching my videos. For those of you that has been following me for quite some time, you do know that I've been uploading quite a few videos inside of Studio One 3. I have the professional version, and I like to show you guys the process of setting up a song or a session before mixing. All right, so this is some of the things that I've learned, and just to let you guys know that I am still learning Studio One, so don't hit me in the head if I do something that you're not used to, because I'm still learning. But I just want to share some things that I've learned, so show my progress or whatever. So the first thing I'm gonna do is okay, just trying to get the name of the song. So I'm gonna label this song, actually this is a GMT session. Label it this place, and of course you need to discover where you want to save your session to. It's very important that you do that, just so you can keep everything in place. All right, we're going to save it here, and I think I tried to do this before, so we're going to just use this folder right there for right now, just to keep everything organized. 44.1 is fine, 24-bit is cool, okay, blah blah blah. Okay, I happen to know the BPM, which is 73, I think. This right here, you can click here if you want your audio to stretch to the song tempo, which means if your tempo is set at 120, say all your audio was done according to the 120 tempo. If you speed your song inside of Studio One to 125, your audio will speed with you, like MIDI regions would do, which is pretty cool. All right, so you're stretching your song. In this case, that's not what we're doing. Let's see. Okay, cool. So we are ready to start this session. It's empty. All right, and we're gonna just bring in the files over from here and straight on in. Boom, everything loads up real quick. Let me go and change my input, because that always happens. I hate that, but that's just, unless there is a way that I can set Studio One by default where it doesn't go there, maybe you guys can help me out. But this is pretty much what it is. So basically, on a typical session, getting started on something, I will usually group my drums and move them around, or whatever. I'll just move the whole session around, all of the files, to get them lined up at the top. Pretty much, I like my drums at the top, so I bring everything at the top, and that's pretty much how I like it, because the drums, to me, in my opinion, is the heart of the song, and that's the first thing, my first focus. So we're gonna just bring the overheads down here. Let's see, the ride is usually the right overhead, but it's labeled ride. It could be labeled ride or overhead left. No, overhead right. Sorry, this is overhead left. This is right. Time 1, 2, 3 right here. Cool. Put my snare on top, right there, and put my hi-hats right there. Okay, looks like everything is okay. So further arranging, let's move my bass. And these are just the things that I do. This is the way I like to set up a session, according to where I think everything fits. I feel like the bass should be next to the drums, because usually that's what it is. The bass and the drum are locks. So in the session, the bass and the drum should be next to each other. That's just my little theory. But you can do anything. You can do it the way you want. It doesn't matter. It's not going to make your session sound any different because your bass was way down here. You understand what I'm saying? That's just, you just make your session easy for you to remember, whatever. Doesn't matter. That's not the point. But anyway, you do need to arrange your tracks to make it easy for you. That's the point I'm trying to prove. So it doesn't really matter what DAW you're using. It's just try to make everything easy. And speaking of easy, what I learned was how to put things in folders. Now, if any of you guys watching this video and you are a Logic Pro user like me, you know that Logic Pro had what they call track stacks. Track stacks was awesome. I use track stacks religiously because it made my project more organized. You know, just the other day I mixed a session with over 100 tracks. So just imagine scrolling up and down just to get to the vocals or guitars or whatever. But if you have everything in folders, it makes it easy to be able to collapse and expand. All right. So Studio One is a little bit different. There's an extra step involved, but it's not one of those make or break situations. It's pretty cool because I'm learning Studio One for what it is and what it does. All right. Now, Logic Pro, you can put reverbs or compression, EQ, whatever on this track stack because it was essentially creating another bus, but a bus with the ability to collapse and expand these tracks like a folder. Same thing here. And this is what I discovered. And this is what was frustrating me at first. I saw that I can create a folder. Okay, wow, pack folder. Bam. All right. That's awesome. And I'm going to do this because by default, some of you guys programs are like this, and I'm going to come back to that. I'm going to show you exactly what I just did. But this is what happens when you pack a folder. It's packed in the folder, all right? That's beautiful. In a range window, so now when you pack things in the folder, it makes it easy for you to mix or to just move around, navigate around your session, all right? Cool, right? But coming back to what I just did, when you do this, wouldn't it be nice to have this same effect inside the mixer window? Absolutely, because in Logic Pro, that was what we got. Everything kind of reflect each other, the arranger, blah, blah, blah. But in Studio One, they give you the option to click on and off that feature, which is link, expand, or collapse a folder, track with show or hide, So, bam. So I click that. And now when I do this, I can see, and as you can see here, where my channels are, you can see it being collapsed or hide like that, right? Now you also know that inside of Logic Pro, there was a way to also do this in the mix window. As you can see, there is no option in here that will give you, if you click this arrow, you probably click the arrow. Oh, that's just the sends and inserts. So that doesn't do anything in regards to expanding and collapsing folders. All right. So even if you was to expand this here and put everything on top, well, that arrow disappeared because that's all it was, because it was in a different view or whatever. But this is what I learned. All right. This folder up here in the arrange window, we're just gonna go ahead and label this as drums. It's very important that you label everything because it just makes a difference. It just looks cooler. No, it just helps you be more organized so you can know where everything is. That's really all. That's the whole point. All right, let's expand this even more. So what I'm going to do here is make a bus. And basically what I just did was I created a bus. Now we have that track stack feature. All right. So now I can expand and collapse in my mix window, which is pretty awesome. And I can add EQ, compression, and all of those fun plugins that you guys have in your DAW, and do the same thing as you could inside of Logic Pro using track stacks. All right. Pretty awesome stuff, right? So you could do it either way, boom, boom. And basically what it is, this is actually a bus. When you did that, you created a bus. So this is the bus channel. And it put everything on the right-hand side. So this is the bus on the right-hand side of your track. Something else I thought was pretty cool is when I click here to change the channel color, all of the tracks within the folder change colors, which I thought was pretty awesome. That's awesome to me. It just makes things a whole lot easier. But if you just want to be different, you can go and change the color of one single, you know what I mean? If that's just what you want to do. But I like how I can just change the color of everything at once. I just thought that was dope. That's just my opinion. You guys may not think so, but whatever. When you have a DAW, it's all about workflow. You know, that's what I tell people. That's what I preach. So I got Studio One because I like the workflow. It's much faster. It's the and I have these debates. That's what I call them with some people, and they talk about the CPU. Like the CPU, no, I think the CPU plays a huge part in this DAW right now, because the things that I was able to achieve, like I just mentioned to you guys, I mixed over 100 track session with several plugins running on bus channels and things like that, and I had to process some things individually, like on the drums. You know, the time one is different from time two. You know what I'm saying? You have to set up different plugins because different tones and different things going on. You know what I'm saying? You got to sweep EQs or whatever, right? So you, especially a session with audio, you know, you well, I guess it doesn't matter, but the point is I mixed a 100 track session with several plugins in it, and the CPU got maybe, I say about halfway, and it may have spiked up here like maybe 75%, but that was about it. You know, if I tried to achieve what I achieved, what I tried to achieve in Studio One, if I tried to achieve, I said that wrong. If I tried to achieve the same thing inside of Logic Pro, all right, let's go with that. If I tried to achieve the same thing, that it would crash. It'll just simply crash. And I've tried it several times, and not even getting up to 100 tracks. It's just several things going on, and your CPU spike up or whatever. I mean, not bashing. I'm not bashing, guys. Don't take it the wrong way. But I'm just saying. You know, I just noticed that the CPU, Studio One handles the CPU a lot better, in my opinion. And I'm just going by experience. I'm not going by what anybody else say. So when you hear me say anything, it's just really solely on spirits. I like this. This is cool. You can actually see the track, you know, within its collapse view. You know, it's pretty cool. So the next thing I want to show you guys is, say in case, you know, since we're talking about folders, say in case you want to edit something, all right, you need to edit everything at once, which is something I constantly do all the time. I'm always editing something, and it just makes life better if I can edit everything at once, because especially with drums, when you're editing drums, everything needs to be the same. Like, you say if I hear something right here, you know, and I, you know, in the snare, and I want to take that out, I could do that individually, but sometimes, like, if I need to move something, I want to move all the drums. All right, you guys get my point. You know what I'm saying? You know, when you editing drums, you want everything to sound like they were done completely at the same time. So this is something that I also learned, because this was frustrating me at first because I didn't know how to do it. I was trying to edit everything at once, and then I discovered, oh, there's a little group icon. That's pretty cute, right? It's pretty cool. When you click on and off this icon, it actually tells you right here in this view what's grouped. You know, all your drums is grouped in this folder. And I'm just noticing just now, recording this, there's a little icon up here as well. All right. So if you watch the icon as I click on it off, you see that it just pops up. So now you know that it's grouped. It's grouped right there. So now when I select, well, let me group that back. So when I select a region, everything is selected. All right. So when I cut or move around or whatever the case may be, everything is being affected at once. See that? It's pretty cool, right? Well, you gotta watch that because I know that the same thing happens in Logic. You gotta make sure you click on the region. Bam, everything happens at once. All right, let's get that back because I'm messing up everything right now. But I just want to show you guys that feature. It's pretty cool. It's an extra step than what I'm used to, but it works. It makes sense. You can also create folders within folders. So in my case, I had horns, I had the trumpets, I had flugelhorns, I had mutes, trumpet mutes, I had trombones. Then I had, what else did I had? I think that's all I had. But anyway, I had stuff going on in different areas and blah blah whatever, and I wanted to automate some things, and I learned that when you as far as automation, that was something that I was trying to figure out as well, like automating a group of sounds or events, MIDI, regions, tracks, whatever, at one time instead of doing it individually. I could not figure it out. Now maybe this is something that Studio One personas can work on. That might be my suggestion. I think a better way to automate multiple channels at one time. But this is what I found so far. Now inside of Logic Pro, they had what's called group, and in that group you can actually see it across the tracks in the what is this, mix view. There you go. In the mix view, and you can see the groups, and each channel will say what group it's a part of. And then off to the side in the info section, or whatever you want to call it, you could click on different parameters that you want to be a part of the group, automating whatever, the mutes, solos, or just simply editing. You can turn on and off those type of things, which was pretty cool. That's something that I used a lot. But in Studio One is a little bit different, and maybe you guys know something different. But the way that I found that comes close to automating, as far as like say volume, for instance, I know that when I click here on the volume itself, up here at the top, it says volume. All right, I'll bring this hand down on the folder itself, and that's how I can achieve the automation. So this actually automates the entire folder, which is cool, but I kind of would like a way to automate each track. Say that I want these 3 tracks to be automated at one time instead of it being a folder event. You know what I mean? That's something that I'm trying to figure out. But again, I don't know Studio One that clear. Maybe you guys can help me out. That was actually a question I put in the forum. I don't know if it got answered yet, but that's definitely a question I had. But what I did was, like I mentioned before, I had several folders. Well, yeah, folders within folders. Like I can actually create another folder. So if I want to achieve its own automation here, I can create another folder. All right, but I don't want to do that. But you guys get what I'm saying. For something like what I was doing with the horns, I wanted everything to be in the same folder, but I just wanted to control the flugelhorns because I felt like they was coming out a little bit harsher than the other ones in a certain section, and then go back to, you know what I mean? And I wanted to be able to control the volume of that instead of putting it in another folder. But putting it in the folder actually was something pretty cool and unique. I didn't know you could do that, but this is what I found that could be helpful. I was able to, this is what I did instead. I took everything, let's bring everything out of automation. I grouped everything. Well, let's retract. Let's say I had certain tracks, and all I did was I cut a certain area, and then I went, let's select that back, and did this. And that's how I was able to achieve the automation. So I just had like these 3 tracks here, just doing something different, and then it come, you know what I mean? Like that was just the way that and because I'm still new, that was I don't know. That was probably like, what are you doing? I know that's what you guys are thinking. Like, dude, you could do this. This is much easier. Why are you doing that? Well, that's actually my cry out to you guys. Like, what do you do? I have not figured that out. I did, massive research, and then I have not figured that out. But anyway, at any rate, this is what you would typically do, or what I would typically do in setting up a session for mixing, cleaning up everything, arranging everything, getting everything into the folders. And what I showed you guys was how to build a folder and collapse and expand your folder inside your arranger window and your mix window. All right. And now you have the ability to add on different plugins to affect the entire drums, and you still have the ability to, after you expand, you can put effects on these different channels, and you can still do that with no problem. All right. So I would say that this is Studio One's alternative or answer to TrackStacks and Logic Pro, which is where I'm from. But you guys, it's all about workflow. It's all about what you love, what you would rather work in. I'm not trying to persuade anybody to this. I'm just showing my progression and what I think and feel about Studio One and what Personas is doing. One thing I love about Personas is they are on point. They are on it. They are a customer service company. They always answering questions and fulfilling different desires and different things that we need as producers and musicians to help us perform a whole lot better. The whole idea of Studio One behind it, I believe, is focusing on creativity instead of focusing on, but it helps to know what you're doing as well. So that's what I'm doing, showing you guys what you're doing. So once you learn that, it'll become an ease of thought when you're trying to create. You don't have to think too hard. All right. So that's my time. I was probably too long, but anyway, just remember, at any DAW you use, like I said, it's all about workflow. But at the end of the day, music is still art. All right. You're the artist. Paint your picture.